Hello and welcome to Friday's edition of Yesterday in Baseball. My name is Luke, and today we've got a lot of great games to recap. We've got the standings to cover, some storylines, and get you everything you need to know heading into this weekend. Again, it's the final 3 days of the regular season, so lots of fun stuff to track, lots of stuff in the standings, injury stuff. There's a good deal of news that we'll cover today. And today, if you're watching on YouTube, I'm going to be throwing in some highlights for each game, something I've been wanting to do, and I'm going to be doing throughout the playoffs of each game. So we're testing that out today. So if you're on Spotify, check that out. And if you're on YouTube, stick around because that'll be kind of a fun addition. Without further ado, we'll travel out to Cincinnati to get into our first game. Who would have thought a 2-1 game would turn out to be a thriller? Not me. The Reds barely eked out the win 2-1 over Pittsburgh. Nick Lodolo threw a gem, going 6.1 scoreless innings and setting a career-high 12 strikeouts. Noelvi Marte knocked in an RBI single and robbed Brian Reynolds of a game-tying homer in the 9th inning, proving that he's been the right man for the job in right field. Again, that was electric. I was watching it live. He was tracking it back. Everyone thought it was gone. There was so much hang time, and he just leapt up, and it was a legitimate robbery. It was a great catch. But that helped the Reds. They stay in the chase with that. They win 2-1, and they remain only one game back of the Mets. In another fun one, Baltimore beat the Rays 6-5 yesterday afternoon. The Rays got the lead in the third and didn't surrender until the 8th inning, where the Orioles got a run from a drop third strike wild pitch and a Colby Mayo 2-run homer, which tied it again in the bottom of the 8th inning. Then Dylan Beavers called game in the 9th inning as his 4th homer of the year sent fans home happy, walking off the Rays and getting them the win 6-5. They're finishing the year strong. Speaking of finishing strong, the Twins are doing just that as they beat the Rangers 4-0 and took the series from them. Bailey Ober went 6 scoreless innings and Byron Buxton killed it. He hit 2 homers, knocking in 4 RBI. That was all 4 runs that the Twins scored yesterday. I'm glad that he's been healthy and he's had a big year. He deserves it. Twins beat the Rangers 4-0. The Astros aren't dead yet as they stay alive and beat the Athletics 11-5. Framber Valdez took care of business, giving up only 1 across 7 innings and striking out 10. The Astros poured it on, most notably Christian Walker went 2 for 5, knocking in 3. And on the A's, Nick Kurtz had a pair of late homers to give the A's something. Houston, they might have to win out here. They sit a game out. It'll be interesting. But they're on the outside looking in. But Thursday, they win 11-5, so they're staying alive. The D-backs are running out of hope and time as the Dodgers cooked them 8-0 to win the division. Yoshi Yamamoto went 6 scoreless, and Freddie Freeman hit a couple of homers, bringing the season total to 23. And speaking of homer totals, Shohei Ohtani hit his 54th of the year, matching his career high, which he got last year. Again, I don't know if it's just me or with the stolen bases, but doesn't feel like he's just hitting 54. It just seems so casual. So hats off to him. Another great year, and he's pitching again this year. Now, this is the 4th straight NL West title for LA and the 12th in the last 13 years. They've just dominated that division. Dodgers win 8-0 and win the series and the division all on Thursday. Good day for them. A day after the Phillies set a franchise record for homers, they did the polar opposite, beating the Marlins just 1-0. Walker Buehler's been excellent in 3 appearances for the Phillies, and that was no different last night. The Red Sox released him after he struggled earlier this year back in August. Philly picked him up, about a month ago. He was solid last night, and he's been solid. The Phillies scored their only run on an Alec Boehm RBI groundout. Solid showing from the Phillies, though, who are proving that they can win in many different ways heading into October. Doesn't matter if they score 11 or if they score 1, they're getting the job done. Again, Phillies beat Miami 1-0. The Tigers and Cleveland Guardians battle for the AL Central gets even more juicy as Detroit got the win 4-2 last night, leveling them both at 86 wins. They leapt out to an early lead in the first on a pair of homers. A Javi Baez RBI single in the second put them up 3-1, and that third run was enough to help them maintain their lead. Riley Green had a solo shot to give them insurance. It was a much-needed win for the Tigers team that's really been struggling. They've been about as bad as you can be. But for now, they're tied atop the division with the Cleveland Guardians. It's going to be Cleveland's tiebreaker, so they're really a game back. But Tigers beat the Guardians 4-2, and It's anyone's division at this point still. The Yankees beat the White Sox again, this time winning 5-3. New York entered the bottom of the 5th down 2 runs because of Michael A. Taylor 2-run homer for the Sox. But Giancarlo Stanton had a bases clearing double to put the Yanks on top, and that was enough to keep them where they are. That win helped them stay with the Blue Jays atop the AL East, as now they'll play Baltimore in an exciting final weekend to help them decide the division. Toronto has the tiebreaker right now, so Yankees are kind of 1 game back. But either way, they win 5-3 and they keep pace. Speaking of those Toronto Blue Jays, they had a dominant pitching performance and 1 dominant inning as they beat the Red Sox 6-1. The Jays took a combined perfect game into the 7th inning, but on the offensive side, Toronto got all of their runs from a big 6-run 6th inning. Dalton Varsho crushed a grand slam, and George Springer hit a 2-run homer to help them put in a 6-run inning and put a nice gap over Boston. They got the win 6-1, and they'll host the Rays this weekend, who have been struggling, and they're going to hope that continues. It's Toronto, they need some victories. The Mets got back in the win column as they beat the Cubs 8-5. They certainly slugged their way to victory in this one as Lindor hit his 30th of the season. The Cubs fought back some as Seiya Suzuki got a pair of homers, but the difference ended up being Brett Beatty, who had a clutch 3-run homer in the 4th inning to give the Mets 6. They scored a couple more runs late on a Tyrone Taylor RBI double, but the Mets win 8-5 and still control their own destiny. Now let's travel out to Anaheim, where the Royals beat the Angels 9-4 as they look to try and finish above 500. Michael Lorenzen tied his career high with 9 strikeouts. Vinny Pasquantino hit a homer and drove in 3. Bobby Witt Jr. had a big 4-hit night, and Salvador Perez had a bases-clearing double in the 9th to give Kansas City some insurance. The Royals win this one 9-4, and also Mike Trout hit his 401st home run. The last game Thursday evening was Mariners and Rockies, where Seattle won 6-2, and Eugenio Suarez started off the scoring as he hit his 49th homer of the year. Essentially, every run scored after that was an RBI single. Emerson Hancock was solid for Seattle, going 4 scoreless and striking out 7, pretty lights out. With that victory, the Mariners now secured a first-round bye in the AL. And again, with a team that seems so lifted by vibes and momentum, it seems like it could certainly work against them. But they've been insanely entertaining and fun to watch, so I certainly hope not. Either way, Mariners sweep the Roccos and get the win 6-2. That's all the games from Thursday. Now let's hop into some standings. Let's kick off the action in the National League. So the Brewers and Phillies, they both have clinched a bye. They're seeds 1 and 2. First division winner without the bye, the number 3 seed, is going to be the LA Dodgers. And then down to the wild card, we have the Chicago Cubs, who haven't quite locked it up, but they've got a 2-game lead over the Padres for that first wild card spot, meaning they get to play that wild card game at home. Then the Padres, with that second, they would have to travel to the Cubs at this point. And then the Mets are 1 game up on the Reds for that last wild card spot. They would travel to LA. But Cincinnati's only 1 game back, and Arizona's 2. I think that's going to be tough for Arizona, but Cincinnati can certainly make a play for it. Now on to the American League. The Blue Jays currently sit at the 1 seed with 91 wins. They're tied with the Yankees record-wise, but Toronto has the tiebreaker. If that stands, they'll have the bye. And then Seattle in the number 2 seed currently with 90 wins. They did lock up the bye because Cleveland can't catch them, and they've already won the division, so they won't surrender that. So Toronto, Seattle 1-2, Cleveland, again, they're tied record-wise with Detroit, but they have the tiebreaker over them. So Cleveland in that number 3 seed, and then the Yankees in the number 1 wild card. They would host the Red Sox, who's the number 2 wild card, who are only 1 game up on Detroit. I don't think Boston's going to fall out. Boston can clinch tonight, so they're going to be fine. But Detroit is in that last wild card. Again, they're tied with Cleveland record-wise, but they don't have the tiebreaker, so they would have to travel to Cleveland to play a tiebreaker. Then Houston is 1 game out of it. Both of those teams have been bad, but they're both going to have some series to watch as, again, like I said, Houston, Detroit, and Boston and Cleveland, it's kind of all still up for grabs. I think it's probably going to be where it is now, where it's Cleveland, Boston, Detroit, I'll make it, and Houston gets out, but I'm just one guy. So that's the standings for now. It's going to be interesting to see this weekend how that shakes up. And yeah, we get wildcard games on Tuesday. How awesome is that? Now we're going to do a quick storyline segment, just a couple to hit for you guys. Leading off, Boston, like I said, they can clinch tonight. The AL East and Central, they're still up for grabs. Both tied, but Boston can get the victory. They can't win the division, but they can at least secure their wild card spot, which would be huge for them. And then Brian Wu, he played catch on the field. He's got positive steps towards return. He has a mild pec inflammation. Seattle having the bye should really help him because I think they don't play until Saturday of next week. So he would have a whole week to kind of get ready to pitch, and they need him. So then lastly, Jose Barrios on Toronto is placed on the IL for the first time in his 10-year career. He's got right elbow inflammation, and statistically, he's been about the fourth best starter for Toronto. That's still a big blow for him. You absolutely still need him, but it's definitely going to be interesting if they don't have him throughout the playoffs, and at this point, it's looking like they're not going to have him, especially if they play a wild card round. So that's all the news and storylines we have. I feel like I could talk all day just about anything, but like I said, our goal here is to get you guys out and on your way with as much baseball news as possible. So let's go ahead and see who was the player of the day for Thursday. I know I say every day that there's a lot of great performances, and there is, but I'll try to stop because what day in the MLB is not going to have some great performances? But I will say there was probably none more crucial to a team's postseason hopes than Noelvi Marte, who had a great game on Thursday. He went 1 for 4, but he had an RBI single, and in a 2-1 game, that's crucial. And you know what else is crucial in a 2-1 game? Is robbing the game-tying home run with 1 out in the 9th inning. Again, I'll describe it again. It was a towering fly ball deep into right field. He was tracking it. You knew it was going to be close, but I mean, the odds of him just being able to reach up and grab it and make that play, absolutely incredible, because if that goes to extras, who knows what direction that goes. So that's huge for Cincinnati, a team that's looking to snap, I think, about a decade-long playoff drought. So big day for him, big day for the Reds as they turn their attention towards this weekend. Now, speaking of this weekend, let's take a look at some of these amazing matchups we've got. We've got Detroit at Boston. Again, Detroit, they need to win, and Boston, they could clinch tonight, so there's a lot of motivation for both teams here. Going to be some heated games. And then we have the Mets at Marlins. Marlins are out of it, but again, Mets need to win. They only have that 1-game lead. Texas at Cleveland. Texas, I'm sure they're just looking to play spoiler. And then we have Arizona at San Diego. San Diego's clinched. They know their spot. Arizona, they need to keep on fighting. So maybe they'll be fortunate. Maybe San Diego won't play all their starters or something. Who knows? Then lastly, we have Cincinnati at Milwaukee. This is, again, a big one for Cincinnati. That's a tough Milwaukee Brewers team, the best team in baseball. But Cincinnati, they've got momentum, and they need to keep up that momentum if they want to take over the Mets for that playoff spot. As they do have the tiebreaker, so they're only that 1 game back. They will leapfrog them. So, should be fun, exciting stuff to watch. And, last weekend of the year, there's just no shortage of games. You can watch your team if they're not in it, or if they are, you can watch any of these matchups. So, I'm just going to be excited for all that. That's all the action from this week and yesterday in baseball. I appreciate you all for listening. Like I said, I feel like I could have talked for an hour plus just about all the action. So I have to keep it short and sweet for you guys. That's the mission of this show. But if anything crazy happens this weekend, maybe I'll be tempted to do a little emergency episode or something. We'll see. But yeah, I'm excited for the playoffs. I'm going to have some fun kind of changes for that to make it a little more exciting and special for you guys. So I'm looking forward to that. But to go enjoy some baseball this weekend, and I hope to see you back on Monday. Thank you guys, and take care.